Sweeney, Managing Director, Jamaica Social Investment Fund. JSIF has been partners with the EU in our work since 2000, that's 20 years, and certainly we've been able to manage and implement innovative programs over the years working together. Social enterprises has come as a result of a further innovation with the ability to enable communities and the persons we serve to really realize their own dreams and aspirations in terms of economic livelihood. Our mantra is investing for community development, so we do have a focus on the community, but beyond communities, it's really made up of persons, and so collectively the group of persons that represent communities is what we focus on, how they're underserved, how we can help them to really provide for themselves and create opportunities for their own benefit. We have now taken a sort of holistic view to how we intervene in communities. So beyond physical infrastructure, we look at the social services, we look at social support, civil registration, those sort of activities that really affect daily lives of the persons in the community. We list as our beneficiaries close to 2 million persons across Jamaica. That's direct and indirect beneficiaries. And we really still aspire to affect every Jamaican some way, whether directly or indirectly. And so we continue to drive towards that goal because we see Jamaica holistically as a complete country, and really our ability to influence and affect the lives of persons here is what we aim to achieve. We really try to seek interventions that will see to their well-being and leave the community with sort of a holistic framework that they can build from. And that's what Vision 2030 is about. I mean, it's built on having healthy, prosperous communities. One of the areas we serve most, if you want to say dear to my heart, is the disabled. And many times we think about the disabled and we don't know how we can help. And I'd say to all Jamaicans that the call to action really is to reach out to the places where you know serve the disabled and see how we can improve and ensure that they have the opportunity of inclusiveness, because that's a big part of Vision 2030 and a big part of what we have to do if we're really going to embrace all Jamaicans from all walks of life. Our greatest reward really is the satisfaction of seeing communities, if you will, move from being underserved or poor or underprivileged to really having the full capacity to chart their way in the future. And so as we go into communities, literally hundreds of communities, we've seen where we've been able to leave these communities and they are able to sustain themselves. And I think that's the greatest reward.
My name is Marianne Vanstein and I'm Ambassador of the European Union in Jamaica. Jamaica may be a small island, but it's an important country in the region and an important partner for Europe. With its vibrant capacity, vision and creativity, with all the potential it has. It is, however, a country where there are still too many poor people, people with needs, people that need to be given opportunities, that need to be lifted out of that poverty. This is a responsibility of the government of Jamaica, but one that we, as the European Union, gladly assist in as much as we can, because we know how important it is. In fact, the European Union is proud to do so. Our poverty reduction program is one of our flagship programs here in Jamaica. It's a program that has run for almost 20 years, focusing on social initiatives, infrastructure, capacity building, training, and on supporting social enterprises in some of the poorest and most vulnerable communities of the country. Through the Jamaica Social Investment Fund, this program, financed by the European Union, has been successful in uplifting some of those communities by building on the creativity and the skills of those who live in them. It's all about using already existing but unexploited potential, getting the best out of people, offering opportunities where these are needed, and thereby help to build stronger communities. It is rewarding to see how the creativity of the Jamaican people has contributed to the success of the program.
My name is Ryan Holder. I'm a Senior Manager of Social Development Monitoring and Evaluation at the Jamaica Social Investment Fund. The social enterprises and community-based organizations are geared towards the improved access to education, skills and life skills training, which promotes income generation at the individual and community levels. They focus on mentorship, guidance and training to foster independent, confident, self-sustained persons who will contribute to their communities and the society at large. The enterprises have been grouped in categories of entertainment and culture, sports, manufacturing, youth training, and special needs. Development within these communities is key to the success and growth of our nation.
Hi, I'm Celia Dillon, Project Manager of the Poverty Reduction Program at the Jamaica Social Investment Fund. Entertainment is an integral part of our nation's fabric, as our culture embodies who we are as a people. Our social enterprises and community-based organizations are geared towards improving access to education through cultural experiences which promote income generation at the individual and community levels. Development within these communities is key to the success and growth of our nation.
Hey everybody, welcome back. We are at the EU JSIF Entrepreneurship Virtual Expo 2021, powered by Flow. We're talking about entertainment as a business, and I am lucky because I have some persons who can speak about this joining me today. But it seems like companies right across the world are turning to events for their promotions, and entertainment has become big business. It has always been big business in my opinion, but it seems like persons view it from a one dimension, and they generally, when you hear entertainment, you only think of the artist out front, you only think of the concerts, and you don't think of all the other things that go into making entertainment this business. So you see, the 1 hour show that you see, there are hours before that have to go into making that, hours after that. So we're going to be talking about entertainment as a business, how and the various aspects of this business and how all of them work together to make this business. And yeah, hopefully at the end of this, you will see it as a venture you can actually go into, all right? So joining me today to delve into this, we have one of the most popular DJs around right now. He said not to call him a veteran, but with the years of experience and the quality that he puts out, I have to call him a veteran. You don't learn this overnight. We have Mr. Courtney Nicholas over on that side. That's Courtney that's in the yellow shirt. And we have someone who is a wealth of knowledge. You know, I think I've known her for 2 decades now, and I've learned a lot just even by just observing. We have Miss Scarlett De Leon. I like to say it kind of French, De Leon. And if you've partied in Jamaica, it's very likely that you've partied at one of his events. Some persons say he's the godfather of Carnival in Jamaica, at least the new one. We have Mr. Andrew Bellamy of Jamaica International, of Sleek Jamaica, and yeah, I love soca. You know, Christmas, Carnival time. If you don't hear I Love Soca, then it's not Carnival, it's not Christmas. And Sun Nation, thank you all for joining me today. We're talking about entertainment as a business, and I do believe that you all show how it is a business from various aspects. You're front of stage most times. You're backstage and side stage and pre-event and post-event most times. And you tell everyone about the event and get them there. So how do we kick it off now as such? Let me start with you, Courtney. Do you think people recognize the business of entertainment, how much of a business it is, or you think a lot of people think it's just a hobby still?
In my opinion, a lot of people just view it as a hobby or just a hustle, basically. They don't know that it's the structure of planning a party or putting on an event. You have to have meetings, you have to come together, find out if you literally have to basically do research, like a market research to see if it will be profitable, who it will benefit, the market, your target audience. It's very deep. It's not simple as you think it is.
Trust me. Now, Khaled, for getting info, like how does PR play a part in entertainment? That's a question I should start with. How does PR play a part in entertainment?
Thank you. Public relations is very important. But before I answer, I agree. Too many people think that the entertainment business is a hobby. No one goes to a plumber and say, hey, do this for me for free now, because they think it's a hobby thing. The man provides a service, and as service providers, we deserve to get paid. Public relations has not helped that perception, I must admit. Over the years, we in the entertainment industry have put forth an image of joy and pleasure and so, which is necessary for us to get our clients, our customers, or partygoers involved. But it also makes people think that, oh, it's a fun thing, and that it is not serious. So maybe we are our own worst enemy in that regard. But people need to understand what it is that we do, and why what we do is important to society on an individual event basis as well as overall. And now that I've said it out loud, I realize that I have a greater role to play in making sure that people understand it's not a hobby thing.
It's not a hobby thing. Andrew, when did you realize, or did you choose it, or did it choose you? Entertainment is a business. When did you realize that this made sense? Because we're at university together, and usually you do a degree, you go and you sit in an office. But you do sit in an office, but it's to discuss entertainment and to plan events. When did you realize that it made sense?
I think it was really at the university that I realized that this is probably my calling. I realized I love entertaining people, but not necessarily being the focus of the entertainment, just creating an environment for people to enjoy themselves. But it probably developed long before that. In high school, I would always like to help create situations where people would gather and have fun. So the university gave me the opportunity to test my skills. And there was no formal training at the time. There was no entertainment degree or anything like that. So, we used the avenue of the guild, where we had the opportunity to serve, the students and to actually try different ideas, you understand, incorporate different things from the region in the local space. And, from that, we're able to develop just the basic foundation for the skill set that we have now. Right. So I think it was there at the university. I
know we're saying entertainment is a business, and if we're talking business, business has to come to money. At the end of the day, nobody does this for good name and health. You need to be able to feed your family as such. So I'm going to throw this out to everybody, and it might be a little, well, it should have different takes on it. Which aspect of the entertainment business is most profitable? Might be an unfair question, but let me ask. Courtney, what do you think?
Wow. Point blank, the promoter.
The promoter. Point blank, the promoter. Yeah. But then the argument is that he's the one or she's the one taking the biggest risk. So big risk, big reward. At the end of the day, as a DJ, if I show up at your event, my contract says I get paid regardless. so it's a safer route. Well, you share that?
Oh, no, not at all. I think promoters have a very difficult job. I think that they can put all the effort into putting on a great event and rain set up, and Jamaican people are like, I ain't going anywhere. And all that money is lost. And just like you said, the DJ has to get paid, the artist has to get paid, everyone has to get paid. So not the promoter. It is a very difficult question, and I reluctantly say the artist. The artist. The artist has a lot of expense too, right? So it's not like you just get up and you make a bag of money and you go about your business. Artists support the livelihoods of thousands of Jamaicans, yes? And that's a very important. role that they play. But in terms of ROI, yeah, maybe the artists have it a little better. But at the same time, remember, they have a shorter lifespan. So a promoter can promote till he's gray, right?
Yes.
And the fact that you went to school with Marlon, I didn't realize you're that old. So clearly,
That's my senior.
I see, right? And the DJ can play till the day he goes to his grave, yes? But the artist has a very finite lifespan. Some artists have been able, some few artists have been able to transcend a decade or two. There's one fantastic artist that I know that has had a hit on the Billboard chart every decade for the last 3 decades. You know, he's phenomenal and I love him dearly. But not everyone has that kind of success. And that's not to say that you can't have a good life, that you can't support others and be recognized without having that level of success. But generally speaking, artists have 5 or 10 good years to make money, and then after that it trails off. So the ROI for the artist.
And you, Andrew, you think you agree with the because you agree that the promoter.
No, well, I have probably mixed opinions on this, to be honest. I believe, straight up, I believe the artist has the opportunity to make more. You understand? Because they'll be doing a show like every weekend, they're doing multiple shows versus a promoter will do 1 show every quarter. You understand? Or 1 show every month at best. So the ability for the artist to earn more profit or to generate more income or revenue is much greater versus the promoter. But depending on the type of promoter, depending if it's an event organizer or a festival organizer, there is a possibility that they could easily generate much more than an
artist. One
So
show alone is what
it really depends on the level that you are in the business, the type of event you're doing, or the level of artist that you are, and where you are in the business and the demand for you. It goes hand in hand. You understand? The demand for an event is just as strong as a demand for an artist. So I wouldn't necessarily pick, but I think there is room for discussion around both being of great value.
Both being of great value.
All, including the DJ. And if I may add.
No, definitely the DJ as well.
DJ, artist, promoter. Don't forget there is the venue manager. They can make money. Don't forget the record label, because the artist may say it's the record label that is making the most amount of money and not the artist. Don't forget the stylist. Don't forget the publicist. Don't forget the support team. Don't forget the producer.
One that you're forgetting that is very, very, very profitable, which is
the
a
police?
production company.
Oh, sorry.
A lot of the time, the production company is similar to the artist, similar to a DJ. They 9 out of 10 times get the money before the event.
Well,
irrespective of the risk involved, they'll get the payment. So, I mean, if you want to use the ROI, I think they actually have positioned themselves in a way that they will benefit the most or can benefit the most, depending on how established they are, how often they're doing events.
So I agree that I left out the production team. I was chatting with a friend who's in production, and he mentioned that he has $1 billion worth of equipment. So that's a large investment. So yes, they make money, and they make quite a bit of money, as Andrew said, sometimes before the event, and 9 times out of 10. But we have to recognize that, unlike the artists,
their investment,
whose investment is more blood, sweat, and tears in terms of talent, the production company has to really put up quite a bit of money for that capital investment as well. But the point that we are all trying to make, I think, is that it's not just, yo, everybody come to the party. That's not the only person making the money. And when the entertainment industry was put on pause for a long period of time in 2020, there are thousands of people.
Still on pause. I don't know what you're talking about.
I have hope for 2021, yes, that lost their livelihood. And then you have the indirect ones. It is the lady that sells me the corn outside the stadium when I go to an event, you know. There's so much money, there's so much business to be generated by entertainment that people need to understand it's not a hobby.
Well, I have 2 places to go with this. Please add to that.
Because, I mean, I know we're deviating a little bit, but the reality about it, I think a big part of the public education that must take place coming out of 2020 for the public to recognize and respect the entertainment, creative, sports, and cultural industry is that, I mean, I believe the industry earns around $200 billion a year, just under $200 billion. And I think it employs probably around 75,000 people. So it is a big industry. The problem is it has never been formalized and recognized for what it is and what it's worth. So there has to be more work by Carlette, myself, everybody involved, all the stakeholders need to know, educate the public. And more
and
so
formalize.
Yes, and more so to actually push the government to accept it and realize that it's just as important as the other industries, and it plays a big role in the economy. And I think from there now, more structure will come into place.
Yeah.
You understand?
That was part of where I was going with
I'm
it.
sorry.
That was part of where I was going to go with it, but not too much because we want to bring it back to the business. Now, if I wanted to be a banker, I know I would do X subjects, I do this, I do this degree at UE or UTech or wherever, and then I might do an MBA. Entertainment is not like that. So I'm going to ask, does school play a part? For someone watching this now and thinking, entertainment is where I want to go. What part does school play in you becoming a part of this business? Does it play a part? I'm asking.
You two went to university. I went to cast.
Some DJs didn't, and they're making more money than me.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. And the gray is there, and I'm not ashamed of it. And Courtney, did you do tertiary?
Yeah, I went to cast too.
Wow.
Yeah.
We own it. Yeah?
The young people watching right now don't even know what cast is, So you can break it down for them.
Let me into the
UTech.
College of Arts, Science and Technology, which was later renamed the University of Technology for the young ones, because they said us over 30s should not be on social media, so let me just help them with that.
And the reality is school does play a big part. Yes, it is true that you can bounce a basketball and be a millionaire. Yes, it is true that you can sing a song and become a millionaire. But the reality of the situation is the reason those people can be successful is because other of us went to school and have the foundation for education. It is the business of music, and you still need to have those business faculties. So, for example, Jerome Hamilton from Headline Entertainment, he studied economics at University of West Indies. I studied business administration. And I think that in our case, it makes us better at what we do because we understand the fundamentals of business. And I say to you, if you are a performer, a player, a participant in the business, and you don't have the education, but you have the talent, surround yourself with people who do, and don't think that because you got away with it, you are somehow blessed, that you can then have everybody else around you not have that educational benefit. I think that's very important as well.
Well, let me give you an example for me, for example.
Definitely.
Relational databases.
Yes.
As you programming.
Yeah.
Now that we've moved digital as a DJ, you literally structure your music like a relational database. Because, for example, if I'm doing a wedding, which is famous for people just coming up to you, hey, I want to hear this.
Oh, yes.
How you structure and you build that database, which is now your music catalog, you're able to search quickly because of how you file the music, how you set up your music from day one. So that simple thing of Excel, search, naming it up, the proper names and so forth, all those things come into play.
And to interject, you mentioned Jerome Hamilton, who somebody I respect greatly in the business. When I went to work for Jerome back in 2004, and he handed me 2 books, 3. One of them was a notebook. I can't remember the name of one, but one of them, the name was The Business of Music, which is where I learned that the talent and that part was like 5%. The rest of it, that's what really keeps the industry up.
Big, thick reference book.
Big,
the
thick
other
reference
book was
book.
Everything that you ever needed to know about music by, I think it's Pascal.
Oh, so it's a habit then. Everybody gets that. All right, good. And a notebook.
The term I always refer to. You could have all the talent in the world, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
So you have to keep yourself relevant, and you have to make people know that you're available.
Definitely, so it's cool.
But there are no particular degrees to do that, because
that's not true though.
I'm asking if there are any particular degrees you should do.
Well, I know the university now offers a degree in entertainment, which gives you, I guess, a full understanding or summary of all aspects of the entertainment industry in Jamaica, and I guess regionally, whatever. But I think that's a good place for people to start. You understand? To get some kind of formal, theoretical information, but a critical part of it, and a critical part of success is from actually doing, actioning the ideas.
That's
you understand?
nice, yes.
But it helps, and I wish when I was branching out into entertainment, I wish I had some kind of theory to guide me. It was trial and error. It was losing money and learning from that mistake. That's why I'm not making that mistake again.
That's best though.
So the young people actually have a great opportunity now by actually seeking formal training, getting a degree in entertainment. And then now they have a whole world of people they can draw on for mentorship, you understand? Everybody accessible now because of social media and the internet. So I think it's a little easier for them, and I believe they should go that route. Not to say that you have to. Plus, when you go through the formal educational system, it allows you to network and socialize. And that's a big part of establishing a personal brand. And it comes into play down the road when all your friends are now marketing managers, or they own all the production companies.
Exactly.
And so everything kind of works together over time.
Before you move on to add what Andrew said, yes, the university offers formal education entertainment, as does Edna Manley School of the Visual and Performing Arts. They have a business of entertainment major in their offerings. VDTI offers entertainment diplomas at a different level as well, and of course through JAMPRO and other organizations there are a number of seminars, workshops and things that people can access as well.
This is actually just to show how widespread entertainment is. If you're doing an event, Andrew, could you list the different persons you will need to make that event happen? The various persons you would need to make an event happen off the top of your head.
Just like how I can name my children.
So I'm saying, could you list? No, list. But what I wanted to do is for persons watching to see the various avenues that you could actively be a part of the entertainment. Because even though we say it's not just front of stage, persons might not fully get that there's so an avenue, and it's an avenue where you can be doing your job, but you have this skill, so you can parlay it as such. So off the top of your head, like you're keeping an event.
DJ, PR, and then...
DJ, PR, continue well.
Production, security, food, bar. You have to go liaise with the different agencies to get the different permits. I would say those are probably the primary stuff. Yeah. I mean, thankfully, I have a team around me.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the team that kind of pull through a lot of these ideas now. So I won't necessarily have to remember every single name, but I know all the different checklists. We have a list that guides the process for us.
But if you have a list, that means there's a lot of people.
It depends on the size of the event. It depends on what you're doing. If it's a virtual event or a physical event, if you're doing a sporting event, it all depends on what you're doing. But there are some fundamentals that don't really change.
Okay, and then to branch out of that, with each of those checkpoints, what you have is those checkpoints are going to actually have persons, because PR will have a breakdown of who they'll need. Security will have their breakdown, whether it's supervisors, ground, canine, whatever. Bar will have this and forth. So what I'm trying to show is the tree from entertainment. So there are so many aspects, so many areas in which you can participate in entertainment, and things to consider if you decide that you want to get into it. Now, VC, you're more like the expert in this here. This next question that I was going to ask, but let me throw it at Khalid also, because I think you've done some event planning. For event planning, you have a limited budget. What are some of the must-haves? Is there a priority list? I think you're thinking of the word.
And the priority list is not short. That's the reality of the situation. Yes. So as I was driving in here, I noticed that there was a generator outside. Par for the course, you're having an event, you have a generator. But sitting beside the generator was a fire extinguisher. And I want to give kudos to the team that put the fire extinguisher literally beside the generator. It's a small thing, but if you don't have it, it can be a big problem, right? So the priority list is very long. Certainly safety and security is on that list, but also promotion, also the patron experience, because you want them to have an excellent experience, so that they come back and come back again. The list is really too long, but safety and security.
You're speaking from such
an enjoyment,
professional position. And if I was to say anything, I guess this question is more towards the young people and how you're just trying out this business and you want to establish yourself as a promoter or establish a brand within the industry. You clearly will have a limitation on how much money you have access to. You may not have the sponsorship you want. So you're going to have to leverage on relationships that you probably don't even establish yet.
Yeah.
But the fundamentals with every event, is yes, definitely security and safety.
Yeah.
But after that, the experience is very important because that's what people grade you on. You understand? From they walk through that gate till they leave, everything that happened to them, that's what they carry home. That's what they remember. That's
Don't
what
run
they
out of
serve.
ice.
But fundamentals is you need a good sound system. For us to break it down on a simple level, you need good lighting. You understand? And you need very good DJs. You need a good bar service because we can't get away from the fact that the music go hand in hand with the bar support, the consumption. So I would just say that those are the basic stuff. I wouldn't really, you can add so much more fluff to that, you understand? And you may not have to spend a lot on promotion. If you're very popular, you could just send out a WhatsApp or use the social media platforms and you get people to come to your event. But then if you don't have those simple things in place, people might have a bad time and that will ruin your reputation.
Exactly.
Too,
If you give them a good time that first time, it might build a reputation.
Yeah, I mean, people, it depends on the expectation, but if they come not knowing what to expect and they have a good time based on the vibe versus the wow, you can build a name from that versus building a name from that grand wow, that grand entrance experience and every other aspect you'll provide.
All right. Yes.
And as a patron,
yes,
something that's very important and near and dear to me personally,
yes,
gotta have good restrooms and amenities.
Why did I know that's what you were going to say?
As a female,
I just knew that was what you were going to say.
Yes.
And it's important because I recall going to, I'm trying to remember, I think it was one of your events. And my wife was blown away by the fact that they had sanitary stuff in there for women. She was like, I'm like, yeah, but
That's
you
so
have
nice.
one in the back. She's like, listen,
that's
somebody here don't have.
Yes.
And it's there. And she loved you all for that.
But Marlon, you can't start that way, Remember, this is now 15 years into the business now. We know what people want and we're actually trying to raise the bar and set the bar. So we go above and beyond to wow people and impress people at the events. But when you're just starting out, unless you're born with a lot of money in your pocket, and if you have a little bit of money, it's going to be difficult for you to provide that experience that you are looking for. You understand?
All right. So, but speaking of experience, so now, Courtney, this is definitely over to you because what you've had in the entertainment industry because of the state the world is in is less of the actual socialization in it. I've seen where you have online events, clashes, dance, whatever, online. First of all, it makes sense to you. I'm asking you, do you think it makes sense?
Personally, from an individual standpoint, it's a bit played out now. I just being honest there. But if you're a proper brand,
no pun intended.
you can make money from it. So, for example,
go into that for me. How do you monetize that? Because I've been thinking, how do I monetize this?
The typical way for DJs right now who are doing online gigs for the public. So I'm going to differentiate public different from private. So for public, most DJs use their Instagram account or their YouTube account. What they do there is, and this is it was really overseas, but a lot of local DJs are now getting the idea. You have accounts such as Zelle, Cash App, PayPal. So they put that hashtag.
So depending on the kindness of strangers.
Right. So the idea is, we in Jamaica call it money pull up.
Yeah.
So you'd play a song, somebody say money pull up. The go-to is you'd either Zelle some money to the account or Cash App or PayPal. So that has been the way that most DJs have been making money online. Now, for other DJs who are smart and research the market, they have now promoted themselves as online DJs. So you target, again, you have to know your target audience, and which is why I say you have to know your branding, know your markets, and keep in touch with your people. So if somebody wants to keep a 50th birthday that they would fly down people to Jamaica, for example, you'd offer a Zoom experience where you, the DJ, can purchase probably 100 users online for 3 hours, or you can make the client purchase it. You connect, everybody logs in from UK, from the US, from all over, and we have a party for 3 hours.
Whoa.
And the arrangement is made where the DJ is paid via different streams, whether it's direct deposit, Zelle, PayPal, whichever.
Nice.
Corporate clients now are doing the same thing. So they're having games nights and they're having different things where you yourself can go to the company or basically do it from where you are. But again, all of this comes at a cost. So when COVID came and we saw that, place was being locked down, you literally had to utilize what you had at the time.
Yeah.
How do I go online? One of the biggest issues we had was the quality. We were using our phone, so we didn't get the quality. So we had to invest in certain equipment. So it's not as simple as people say, oh, you just go online. You have to buy different things. If you want to put out a certain quality and a certain brand, you have to invest in your craft and yourself.
Wow.
Were you listening?
I was like...
As a master of ceremonies,
Yes.
as a host,
Yes.
as a personality,
Yes.
what I heard him say
Was
could be a solution for you too.
invest.
So as a company, I hire you as an MC to host a party, and you do everything that he just said to get paid. And my commission is just 10%.
Listen, you can take 15 if you get more gigs. That makes sense. Listen.
That's a good plan.
Yeah, listen, and the quality does show. I mean, I think you have probably the most corporate gigs in Christmas.
I'm not sure about that,
But we hope.
Well done.
I'm not complaining.
But where do we go? What do you after when you? Because for me, as you said, that you think it's played out. It never warmed for me.
All right, let me just put it plain and simple. The Jamaican let me not limit it to Jamaican audiences. It is hard to get somebody to sit on their phone or their device for more than an hour, looking at you in a room or in a background just playing music. It's not as simple as that. People love gimmicks, they love drama, they love something else happening. So I find the successful online parties have a host, have little gimmicks, you interact with your audience.
Yeah.
So even though when we're doing corporate Zooms, I as the DJ ask for like 2 TV screens. I want to see everybody on the Zoom. So I can interact with you, the audience. So that makes you want to stay. Are you waiting to see if I'm going to call you out? So it is now more interactive. But just think about it. Sitting on your phone for 2 hours.
Yeah.
After a while, people are going to be like,
I want to add something though. How many DJs, promoters, stakeholders in the business right now can transition to this virtual experience and monetize it? Because the reality about it is probably not even 10%. It's probably 5% at best.
I would say
At
less.
best, yeah.
You understand? So it actually, there's such a huge limitation in Jamaica. Not to say that we can't explore the options. You understand? But if it's 75,000 people who normally benefit from this industry, and if it's only 5%, 10%, what happened to the other 70,000 people, for argument's sake? And I think there needs to be some dialogue, and I wish I had an answer to it, because even myself fall in that same category, because for me at my level, it don't make sense doing a virtual experience.
At all.
You understand? It will cost more money because of the expectation people have on my brands. I would have to deliver it at a certain level, and it would be all out of pocket.
And you can't.
And it's hard to charge Jamaicans
It's not scalable
for a
as you
virtual
think.
experience.
Yeah, it's not as scalable as doing a live event.
We all ignore something, or it's probably taboo and we don't discuss it. But the reality about it, Jamaicans and Caribbean people, we're very physical with our interaction.
Exactly.
We socialize by touching and laughing and being around each other. So a virtual experience only works when, let's say, you're in a space, you're at home, and you and your family normally party together, or normally go to church, or normally it works because you guys can feed off each other energy. But let's say if I'm the one in the house that go to church and nobody else go, I can't have a virtual church experience and expect everybody to fall in line. And the same thing go with a party. Yeah. Somebody who loves the party. So there's that restriction, and I get what Courtney is saying. That's the problem, The average Jamaican won't want to join a Zoom to party. Because they won't feel the energy. We feed off of the bass of the music, you understand?
Exactly.
And we have to consume, and most people don't like to consume alcohol at home by themselves, you understand? It's a social
that makes you an
activity,
alcoholic.
So
Yeah,
there's a lot of things that we're not really discussing and figuring out how to address them, you understand? And I guess it's probably just to encourage a conversation.
No, I think
understand?
people are in a wait and see mode. You know, wait and fingers crossed, all of this will pass.
But we can't wait until...
100% right.
Yeah.
But bills still need to pay. So while everybody is saying, oh, I'm going to wait and see, right? We have rent and mortgages and school bills, and us in the entertainment business cannot afford to wait that much longer.
But Carlette, we are probably the 5%. So all of us here have adjusted and diversified, and we have pivoted and figured out how to move forward and capitalize on what exists. And we're probably creating opportunities ourselves. But somebody who just came into the entertainment industry, they're losing their brain right now. You understand? They don't even have the network to be able to even go and pitch an idea to somebody. You understand? So, I mean, I believe there's more that we can do as a group, as a set of stakeholders or whatever, industry players.
Excellent point as to what obtains right now. But which brings me to my next inquiry. Where do you see the future of entertainment? You know, post-COVID, what do you think the entertainment scene will look like? And I know it's a guess, but or should I ask, what do you hope it looks like, and what do you think it will look like? Which can be two different things.
Where are you starting?
Right? Anybody can take that question.
I'm very optimistic while being a realist. So I believe at whatever point we come out of the limitations that exist because of COVID now, I guess everybody's vaccinated, or the restrictive orders are removed. I think there's a yearning, a desire for people to just go out and socialize again. I'm not saying that we're going to go back to what was before, but a lot of what was before will have to come back for the entertainment to thrive and for it to be a success. There might actually be a huge rush on every form of entertainment, every form of social interactive activity that will just fall in line, you understand? Whether it be people getting the opportunity to go to church in numbers, whether it be a sporting event, the stadium can ram again, or parties. I think there's a huge weight in everybody's anticipation. So I believe that's where we'll end up, and I believe what people should be doing is just planning for that. As I say, I'm optimistic, so I'm going to plan for the best scenario. At the same time, I'm planning for the worst scenario. You understand? That's just a general perspective that I have right now.
And for you, Khaled?
Courtney?
Personally, we have to embrace both. We don't have a choice now. Digital is here to stay, and based on my personal view of what is happening globally. Now, let me tell you why I say embrace both. I always think global as it relates to certain things. As I told you guys earlier when I did a 50th birthday, actually the 50th, 70th, and a 40th.
Wow.
And what two people I saw logged in were in Spain. A couple people from the UK. So, but what it does is bring families together. So, for example, in the US, where they told people you're not supposed to have Thanksgiving, you must have people around. That was the perfect opportunity to make some money if you are marketing yourself in that space. Now, as Andrew said, you cannot sidetrack. We have to open up eventually. People need to socialize, people need. But we have to balance both now. Because there will be situations.
There is no both. There's just virtual right now.
True.
Sorry to interject.
True. And I won't argue that, but in the event that, all right, when we open back, we have to accommodate both. It's not an if or but anymore.
But do you need to accommodate virtual? I think it's a case of the live is there and happening.
Right, think about it this way.
Some persons.
Think about it this way.
Yeah.
And I'll pivot back into my role as a wedding DJ. Weddings were limited to 15 people. I did 2 weddings with 15 capacity. Virtual was a must there because you have relatives all over the world who want to take part. When it increased to I think it's 40 or 50. Yeah. It was also a must again, because you know the average Jamaican wedding is 100 people. So there is space for virtual, but what used to happen is you have a wedding for 100 people and 30 people couldn't come. They weren't a part of it. No, it's a part of the service being provided by wedding planners, production team.
People can afford it.
True.
Before there was no Zoom person.
True, that's true.
You understand?
That's
it's
true.
not accessible and easy for everybody to do.
But what I was saying is that if the live is happening, yeah, good to know that the virtual is an option, you know, as such. But as you say, it's the circumstances that will dictate it happening. But yeah, you have 20 of your friends who can't make it. We set up a thing for you, but I don't think you'll end up being equal.
It's not an equal thing, but think about it, Marlon. We're going to end up like this again at some time in the future.
But
hopefully after we've all gone.
And Marlon, why can't we merge the two?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's what he was saying.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think there is no debate. It has to be part of the future.
Have to be.
But I think what Marlon's saying, I agree. I don't think it will be a major
Same
focus.
Experience.
It won't be a focus to me.
Well,
it won't be.
Yeah, exactly.
I believe that the people who can't physically attend will utilize virtual, but I think there will be a greater yearning to actually
go out and
physically go to something.
Entertainment is a broad brush, as we would like to say, different thing, as a different cultural events, different.
Yeah, true.
And for me, I'm specifically dealing with weddings, corporate events, private parties, and public parties, which is your space. Weddings, corporate events, private parties, all those right now are happening via the digital space. Because it makes no sense. I'm assuming some still happen, but they all incorporate.
But you know, a critical part of that, none of those are being done to generate revenue or profit.
That's it.
That's the difference. Those are all marketing tools, relevance, you know, creating relevance, maintaining relevance. But for practitioners who want to make money, it's really not a practical solution.
Let me punch in again.
I'm not taking away now. I'm
let
just
me punch in again.
Highlighting that.
I did a virtual charity event for Camperdown High School. We're doing a tablet drive. They set up a website that you pay 10 US. And it was me and another DJ, I'm trying to remember his name. Played for 3 hours. They got donations up to 3,700 US.
Nice.
So for them, it was better than when they kept their local event last year.
Cost them less to execute.
It cost them less, so great. And say, although, you know, that's barely Courtney's fee, though.
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Do you want to weigh in on this guy?
I'm learning from my colleagues here because I'm worried about 2021, 2022 and the future. I certainly agree that there will always be a place for the virtual, but in order to have our livelihoods restored.
Out the door have to open back.
Out the door have to open back. We have to have concerts, we have to have parties and such. And people are going to, even with the vaccine and such, I don't think the numbers are going to come back in the near future. Maybe long term, you know, Spanish flu happened in 2018, people eventually came out. But I don't see 2021, 22, 23 being banner years for the entertainment industry in terms of revenue.
We can only hope, though. And on that, I think we're going to wrap at this point as such. I'd like to thank you all for joining us here with this discussion of entertainment as a business. I have a couple of questions that have been asked by viewers as such, and we're going to touch on them, but let me tell you, thank you so much, because I learned a little bit, right? No, and I'm like you, I'm very hopeful of what we will have in the future, and I'm very hopeful that before 2022, we'll be back to numbers. You know, we'll be back to some form of numbers, and
that's crossed.
Yeah, you know, and also that we pay attention to entertainment as the business it can be and the business it is, and that somebody out there that's watching this will take it on. You know, maybe the next big promoter, the next big DJ, the next big PR chief is watching right now, and just know that you have 3 examples of persons who have been successful in this space, who it's not a hobby, you know, them put together them companies, them pay them taxes, you know, good people who have made inroads in entertainment. So it is an option for you. And we're going to do a little bit more learning because now we're going to have some questions and answers, so don't go nowhere. Question for you guys.
Would you recommend someone to join your current field?
Because I know how hard it is.
Yeah.
I would tell, don't make it your prime source of employment. Make sure you have some other form of employment, and as you grow, you can determine whether it can maintain the lifestyle that you want.
What say you, Carla?
I say, if you're passionate, go all in. There is so much reward in this business that doesn't include money, but you can enjoy making people happy. So go. If you're passionate about entertainment, about culture, about the performing arts, go all in. That might mean that you have to live with your parents because it can't go on the rent, yeah. But if you're passionate, go all in.
What say you, Andrew?
Whoa. It's a very difficult question. But I think I'm very similar to Carlette in the sense that if you're really passionate and you love the entertainment industry, if you just got involved and you want to get involved, just like what Courtney said, I wouldn't necessarily jump head first. I try and diversify a little bit, so I will do something that will generate some income. But I'd use this time, especially this time, I think is critical for you to build your brand, build the relevance, establish and strengthen a network. You understand? Socialize throughout whatever legal platforms that you can find to socialize. Because what you want is when you come out of this, you want to be in a position that anything you put out, people would identify it as a brand, they're ready to just jump at it. They're yearning for it. You've been building up that anticipation in them heart. So it's going to cause you to be more of a content creator and more of an influencer. But then all of those things will help you when you formally start to conduct and activate in the industry. So that would be my only little advice.
All right. So do it with passion, but be smart enough to just hedge your bet a little bit. I guess that's the conclusion. Thank you all once again for joining us for the EU JSIF Entrepreneurship Virtual Expo 2021, powered by the Flow Foundation. It has been a pleasure having you, and it's been a pleasure speaking to you all. Go for it and make some money out of entertainment if it's your passion. My name is Marlon Campbell. Thank you for joining us.
The Trenchtown CDC is an umbrella organization that's within the community of Trenchtown. And basically what we do is to govern the activities and mobilize and run the capacity development through our CBOs and through our stakeholders. We govern the entire Trenchtown, which includes 5 districts. And those are Linden's Greenwich, Arnett Garden, Wilton Garden, Federal Garden, and Rosetown. And that comprises of 27,000 residents that resides in the community. The main goal of the enterprise is to transform the communities, community transformation, through our social development and our economic development. We believe as a community and an organization that we can't develop the community without developing an economic ability where persons can be able to earn for themselves, and through that can develop the community further. We offer partnerships, so we go in partnership with our stakeholders. Our stakeholders who are donor agency who can assist in the development of the community. And so we look at what the needs are of the community and what the personal needs are, such as persons need jobs, persons need further development, and what we do is offer training and development and further enhance their ability in whatever enterprise they want to enter.
When we did join, we did more younger, but never really in a badness. We just the type person like love war. I'm not going to make nobody hurt my friend and my daddy because I just go in there and my war will be very dangerous. Like do a lot of damage. Well, the CDC, I'm finally like football and go a lot of clubs and play. The CDC is just a very good organization that comes together to make the ghetto a better place.
You can support the Trenchtown community through mentorship and volunteerism. Contact them at 876-374-1833.
Lifeyard is a community-based organization, social enterprise, Rastafari initiative by faith and by works, as well as a home base and actual creative space. If you notice the murals outside, it's a community-based program that really brought the attention to our community.
Empowerment is a word I created to basically balance aspect of this Jamaican disease, which is literacy. You see, so student done, which is basically what I do. I'm a writer by profession. So at the end of the day, my power is with the pen, and that is what basically changed my life. You see, the pen. So my blessing is to share this blessing. So with me as the inspiration now, me want to basically create young writers who know the power of the pen.
Each business that you see here in Lifeyard encompass and support each business. So where we do the tours, when we cook the food and we sell the craft, you know what I mean, when we make the juices, all of that is, giving back to the community at least 15-10%, and at least 10% is used back in the actual business itself. You know what I mean? So it's always creating a self-sustainable effect and record keeping of what we do and traction. You know what I mean? Yeah, so it's more of that entrepreneurial spirit, that hub, So this is what we have created from our own hands.
Support Lifeyard by visiting the 44 Fleet Street location for tasty, healthy food or cultural tours. Be the change you want to see.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to what promises to be yet another exciting panel discussion in the 2021 EU JSIF Entrepreneurship Virtual Expo. And of course, we have an exciting panel, knowledgeable as can be, with us today. Immediately, I'll introduce for you Kezzy Gardner, who's an educator and very versed in marketing and sales. And she runs her own company, the Storyteller Agency, wonderful. And Lindsay McDonough, who is the co-owner of Market Me. They've done a lot of work with Separate, CB, several other companies. And Craig Powell, who is the CEO of Ad Intelligent, who I've been told is an analytical expert, but of course also very versed in social media. Now we'll take the opportunity to have each panelist very quickly expound a little bit on exactly who they are and what they do.
Okay, so I am an educator, but I'm also a storyteller. I'm the CEO of the Storyteller Agency, which just celebrated its 1 year anniversary. We've only been around for 1 year. We kind of had a boom during COVID, so we've expanded. But we are basically at our ethos, a lifestyle marketing agency. So that integrates social media, content creation. Everything has a PR element and a storytelling element to it. So that's, in an essence, what we do.
And I must add that she's been nominated on the list of most influential bloggers, 200 most influential bloggers, yeah, so.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I forgot about that. Yes.
Kudos, there you go. Lindsay.
Hi, I'm Lindsay McDonough, and I'm the co-managing director of Market Me Consulting Limited, the amazing company Market Me. So what we are, we're an integrated communications agency, and basically what at our core is that we're committed to highlighting do good work that positively impacts the lives of Jamaicans. So every client, every brand, every company that we work with, it has to have a positive influence on Jamaicans. And so that's at the core of everything that we do. Just like Kezzy, the storytelling agency, is at our core, we start everything from telling a story because it's important, because stories connect with people. So We're all storytellers up here.
Storytellers
He's the
up here.
intelligent one.
All right. Well, in a most unusual twist of things, we usually put the man at the front. So you've ended up at the end. Craig Powell,
yes,
CEO of Ad Intelligent.
Yes. So the actual name of is actually Adtelligent, but everybody actually calls us Ad Intelligent, so I'm used to that. And most of our clients sometimes make that name. So Adtelligent is a digital marketing agency, which actually has a tech company as well. So we're both at the same time, with the foundation being finally someone put intelligence behind the ad budget. So we're trying to be the whiz kids or whiz people that makes your marketing budget more efficient. So we work with a lot of corporate companies to do a lot of their campaigns, and some of the people we've actually cross-worked with. So we've worked with MarketMe before in terms of analytical support. And so we kind of focus on just making stuff better that you're already doing. And secondly, our tech business is building out a lot of new products that we're selling to our corporate clients, as well as some consumer-based things as well.
All right, so there you have it, folks. And by now you've understood that the core function of this panel is for us to explore social marketing in a media space. Some people would call it social media and marketing. And we have 3 experts. Now, for those who understand the value of social media, literally 97% of marketers have all invested in some way or the other in social media. So clearly it is possibly now the driving force behind the businesses, especially small businesses coming up. So with all your experience, I'd like to ask how important you think individually is the need for social media and proper marketing through that channel?
Very important, particularly in a COVID and post-COVID era. More people are spending time at home because they don't want to be exposed. So definitely spending more time online. Also, the older generation is more focused on traditional media, TV, whereas the younger people, they're online. And in Jamaica, I don't know what, by the time this comes out, the mobile penetration, I think, would have doubled. I'm projecting it would have doubled, just because more people are at home and online. So yeah, I think it's critical, very critical to get your message out there and to also connect with your customers.
Craig Paul.
Okay, social media right now is probably the most important tool for any business, especially in Jamaica. So the thing is, if you're spending on your traditional budget, I'm now recommending to all companies to spend at least 60% of your money online. Online is the most effective tool because you're speaking directly to consumers, directly to businesses, you're more targeted, you can measure the spend, you can measure the return. Other forms of media, like if I buy a newspaper ad, yes, the Gleaner Observer says, oh, well, 4 people read it on average and we sell 80,000 copies, but you don't really know that. On social media, I know, wow, a lady who lives in St. Andrew who actually goes to school at this place and her kids go here and she works at this job, she watched my video for 3 minutes and 30 seconds and she made a comment, and then after that she went and did something else or purchased the product. So the whole buyer's funnel is completely visible online. A small business now can't necessarily take advantage of all those things, but the truth is, if you just register yourself on Google.com and Google My Business, so I can actually find the place that you are, or you list your services there. That's actually going to make a huge, huge, huge difference, especially in COVID time where you can't physically go to places as easy. And like whenever I'm hungry at night when I'm leaving the office, I just go on Wendy's or KFC to check what time they're online. I go on their social media profile, not anything else. I'm not calling them to see, are you open? I'm looking at their social media. So they would lose me as a customer if they didn't have it.
So pretty much, you're saying a lot of the, as Kezi said, the traditional ways of doing business have also been changed through the channel of social media and how we function, our behavior.
And also because of COVID and post-COVID, I mean, it's forced people to be at home. So you're not getting, I mean, all of us, I could speak for all of us that before COVID, events was a big part of our ad budget. Sponsorship was a big part of our ad budget. Without having those things where we can actually see each other and network and, the brands can be visible to a lot of people, now they have to find new ways of connecting.
Lindsay, on the basis that a lot of what you do is it fair to call it feel-good marketing? It has to have that feel-good element. How have you looked at the element and the need for social media for businesses?
So to take the points from both of them and put it together is that I think for social media, it's instant. It's instant. As people say, if you run this morning, you never take a picture, it never happened. People know what's happening all the time. And I think brands capitalize on that because it creates a sense of community. And I think people like to, as they say, people like to have a sense of belonging. So you're belonging to a community. Brands can create this community for themselves, and then through stories or through content, connect with their audiences. I mean, yes, COVID, post-COVID, no COVID, hopefully. I mean, to me, social media is very important because you're instantly connecting. And as Craig had said, is that you know your target audience. I mean, there's nothing else like social media that makes you know your target audience. As he had said, if I place an ad in print ad, one thing that clients always ask us, even from a PR value, people always say, okay, that story that got placed, what's the PR value of it? And you should see us in the office that calculate and all kind of formulas. The truth is, none of our formulas are right because we literally cannot calculate how many people see something. But on social media, through analytics, you can tell exactly who has seen it, where they're from. You can start to gather data so that you may not know your own target audience, but through content pushed, you start to understand who you're connecting with. So the data that you get from social media, I think is invaluable. And then also the sense of community that you get. It also helps you to pick out who are influencers within your social circle. So I just think at the basis is really data, 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 data. Mm-hmm.
I'll throw something at you along that line. Brands.
Yeah.
So when we speak about brands, a lot of people think of already established brands. And everybody is trying to build a brand. So you have the established and the upcoming. Is social media used the same way for the already established brand compared to the new brand?
Well, let me first say, everybody is a brand. Everybody is a brand. You have bigger brands, yes, you have smaller brands, but everybody needs to know that when you put yourself out there, you are a brand. You're representing yourself and all your core values. Some brands have bigger budgets than others. So a bigger budget, for example, a KFC, for example, may have a very bigger marketing spend than a storyteller agency. And so because of that, they're able to invest in ads that are targeted, and they're also able to invest in deeper content. But the funny thing about social media is that sometimes you don't need to invest a lot in content to have a big reach. As you can see, some things go very viral. I mean, I just was exposed to Border Cat, for example. When my office is telling me who Border Cat is, I ran to Instagram, and then I ran to YouTube. And he literally went viral off of one thing. I mean, so did I. So it's just showing that brands, well, you are a brand.
Everybody.
So for me,
is a brand. Everybody has a
where's the Craig?
Brand.
That will never happen. Well, now you know.
It's just the truth.
And that was Border Cat, just in case, you know.
No.
One of the things that I think people look at people like yourselves and believe, oh, they all just started with a given. It was already charted. They were already in this field, in this business. Give our viewers an idea pretty much of how you all started in the business that you are in.
Well, I'm the oldest, so I'll go first.
Well, you're the oldest on the panel.
All right, so I don't know if you've ever read Outlier. Malcolm Gladwell talks about the 10,000 hours. So I've put in my 10,000 hours. I've worked in the industry for probably 10, 15 years for other agencies. I've worked with all the top agencies in Jamaica. And I kind of just got to the point where I was just like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to launch the agency, which is now a year old by the time this comes out. And it's so funny because Lindsay was like, when I started it, Lindsay was like, you know, giving me advice and sending me messages and stuff like that. So, you know, yeah, you have to put in the work. You have to put in the work. Obviously, social media is in a traditional advertising sense, a new channel, right? But I mean, I've always been an advocate for it because I've seen how well it did for my business, because I had a t-shirt line before, and I actually used social media to drive traffic to my website. And I didn't have an ad spend in those days. Everything was organic. So, yeah, you have to put in the work.
All right. Lindsay.
So I actually hate when people say, oh, it was given to you, it was this, it was that. No. And I think for me as a female, for me as a brown-skinned female, for me as a perceived privilege, people forget about your steps to get somewhere, and they look on you and think that everything's a given. So I hate that people start off with that. However, on the same note, I also don't think that we need to get into a kind of conversation where people say, oh, you got this because of hair. Because guess what? I don't care how anybody got somewhere. I just care that you do the work. So just to put that down there. Also, with us three on this panel, just going back to this whole thing of social media and agencies, one thing all of us we've all worked together, you know. I know that Market Me has worked with you for influencers, and that we've worked with you. So I think we need to cultivate this culture in Jamaica where people network and work together. Everybody has strengths, and I'm a very big believer that there's something for everybody. So that's fine. How did I get to the point of where I am? I actually got here through failure, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. I'm moderating this because of my failure too.
Everybody will say, Lord, Lindsay mad, her head, like, and that's the truth. And I embrace the fact that I'm a mad person, right? But I love being that person because to me, the ideas that I come up with, I really think outside the box. I see things from a different angle. And I know my office hates when I come on shoots with them because they always say it lasts 10 hours longer because I'm like, no, let's do this, let's do that. So going back to this whole thing of how did I get here through failure, I was working with an international company. And I remember working with Energizer, and I was a country manager here. And I remember one night I went into Fiction, I was in Fiction Hotspot, and I had on my Energizer Buzzy shirt, and it was the blinking shirt, and I went out because to me, I was like, I'm owning my brand, I'm wearing my brand, and I was out there with it. And then I remember I got a call from the HR man, and they were like, we're making your position redundant. And I was like, what? Yes. After I went to Fiction in that Energizer shirt? No. Point of the matter is, that literally cut me down because to me, I was like, I was doing all the right things. What happened? That's A. Then I went to work with Pepsi Cola. And when I was there, I mean, you give them ideas, but it's just not the same as you executing your own ideas. They push you back because everybody's scared of doing their own thing. And it was at that point, and I think because of Energizer, I was like, you know what, Lindsay, now is the time that just go and do your own thing. And my passion for doing something other than where I was kind of exceeded. I started doing a lot of side jobs and whatever, till eventually I handed in that resignation letter, and I was like, Lord, what am I going to do now? The funny thing is, Pepsi is actually one of our clients because we do the foundation work for them. So we do all their CSR work. And so that's just what it is that failure got me here, and I love it. I wouldn't choose anything else.
It's ironic that you started off by saying you started in this because of failure, when your story is actually one that suggested that it was adversity and not necessarily a failure.
Yeah, but you know what? I think that we also, just flipping the point, is that for me having my own company now, I realize that sometimes people are made redundant, some people are fired, and it's not necessarily because they don't do good work. Right. Sometimes it's because they don't fit into the culture of your organization. And so for me, I felt like a failure at that point because I have this I have to win personality. Like anybody knows me, I'm like, I have to win, I have to win, I have to win. And for me, I felt failure then. So yes, where I am, I could say is because of failure. But for people out there who do lose a job because of something, it's not always because you fail at something, but sometimes it's just because it just ain't for you, you know?
And I believe that a lot of people, especially young, small business people, need to use this opportunity in this COVID time and post-COVID, and as Lindsay said, hopefully no COVID, to understand that redundancy, layoffs, get back to work someday, but you're unsure about how life is. It is in this period, through the very same marketing and social media that we're now here discussing, You have the examples here. It's understood. Now is the best time to get it done. Craig, Intelligent, sort of different, I think, from, you know, these two, but you started out because you just were a techie?
Well, I have a similar story to Lindsay, but not quite the same. So adversity is definitely one of the things that I have faced in my life that has actually made me, and I don't want to call it adversity, it's just my own stupidity. So like straight up.
For the record,
yeah.
25.
So yeah, so at 25, I've, in terms of business,
don't worry about it.
I rapidly have gained success or whatever. So Intelligence is like 17 plus people. We're making really good money. You know, I'm able to have now the little trappings of like wealth. I have a little apartment, I have a new car, all the little foolishness, right? Except I only have that because of two people in my life, my father and my uncle, right? And that's Nevada Powell, who's my chairman, and my dad, Sheldon Powell. So those two men have helped me tremendously. And of course, there are other people along the way. But the beginning of the story is that I'm in college, and I am working a job as a residential computer consultant, fixing people's computers. And I'm like, this makes no sense. You know, I work $7 an hour. Like, what am I doing? And I'm just like tired of like not being able to go out with my friends. And I start like going into like a party business and start being like a big party promoter in college, which is retarded because I was there to go to school and not like, and learn about computers, not like throw big parties. Yeah, holistically. So this time when I was during these parties, they got really big. I was like, wow, you know, I made $2,000 US one night. I was like looking at the money. I bought like a gold chain out of a safe in my dorm. You know, looking there, I opened it up on some money. I said, wow, I feel so good. And you know, I'm throwing like bigger and bigger and bigger parties while starting missing class and like not doing the things I'm supposed to do. What my dad is, you know, saying. Like, I think the biggest party I had Young Thug. So I'm like paying like big celebrities to throw these big things in Texas.
Pause for a minute. You had a party named Young Thug?
No, I had Young Thug. I had Young Thug.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I had Young Thug. I did Migos. I did
oh, wow.
What's the next man? Waka Flocka.
Waka Flocka.
Yeah. So I was like doing a whole heap of stuff like that, which is opposite to school. And as you can imagine, my dorm room had like all the weird gadgets. Like I would have everything first, and my dad is just like, "How's things going, son?" I'm saying, "Yo, it's going great. It's amazing." And then like, you know, Christmas time came and he got my report card and he saw like effing computer science and the main class I was supposed to take. And he's like, "What the hell is this, son? What's wrong with you?" And I came on and said, "Dad, you know, I really was messed up. I'm so sorry." He said, "You're not going back to college now." Like, no, you just messed up. So I couldn't go back to college because he was saying he's not going to pay for me to do foolishness. And he told me I had to take like a semester off, a year off. And that was really
good for you.
Well, yeah, good for me in the long run.
Yeah,
but that
no
first
$2,000.
No, it was horrible. I was down here in Jamaica.
Remember Mark Zuckerberg dropped out, Bill Gates.
Yeah, but I didn't drop out for the same reason. I dropped out for foolishness. They were dropping out because they already started their business. I dropped out because I was wasting time. And I was in Jamaica, and I went to Hillel, and that's a privileged place. And you know, the whole idea was I was supposed to go away, do this thing, graduate, go to school. So I had this big idea of what I'm supposed to do, and I'm just doing the opposite. You know, I started working for my dad in his small business. You know, doing that thing, and I was just like going to work, and everybody called me like boss man, and all sort of foolish, and I was like, it was really weird because my dad and my relationship was just getting horrible at the time because I had ideas, he didn't want to listen to me because, you know, of course, who the hell am I? So on and so forth.
College dropout.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
After about a year, he started a next business called Silver Family Care, which he wasn't really in on a day-to-day basis, and I was put over there as like as a marketing person. I did a whole lot of marketing for the promotion stuff like I used to do.
Yeah, obviously you had Young Thug.
Yeah, and I started doing this, and it was going well, right? And I shot a video on my cell phone of like someone talking about, a gynecologist talking about like yeast infections, and I got like 400,000 views on Facebook.
Interesting topic.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Like just crazy. And the business was like doubling, like Silver was getting so many customers. I was like, wow, this thing works. And I was dating a girl at this time who took me to a place where I met RDX, who was my first client. And they're like, yo, that thing you do, you think you could do it for us? I was like, yeah, probably I could do it, yeah. I said, you know, Dad, it's RDX people. And they gave me, I think it was 70 grand a month at the time. And then the next client was Best Buds, it was the first two clients. And from that, I had a little business.
Yeah.
Right? I was still working at Silver Family Care for about a year. I hired an employee that was working with me, doing social media at Silver, and then also doing it there. And you know, at about a year, maybe we had like 3 or 4 clients. I said, you know, Dad, I'm going to start this full time now. And he said, okay. He told me, you can go out to school or you can start your business. And he said to me, son, you know what? I don't think you should go out to school, you know. School is foolishness. In fact, if you fail this, I can say about the school, because obviously you're ready now. You're doing really well. So let me give you some money to start your business, which was $10,000 US. And plus, he also owns office space. So I really had a really great start. So I'm not going to tell anybody, boy, you know, like I'm lucky. I'm definitely lucky.
You had a great start,
yeah.
but you didn't have a great beginning.
No, but the 10,000 US that I got, brought the first camera, which was robbed, right? Like someone stole it, like maybe 2 months later. But you know, we just started to just get like all the right stuff. Everything started to happen like correctly, and we're really, really rapid. So started doing some corporate work, eventually registered the company. Now, you know, we do like, I think Grace Kennedy, we probably do most of their online ads overseas, right? And we have a lot of corporations where we're doing majority of the work, and some places where they're full-scale agency, and we're doing, you know, really, really well. But it's because, you know, that type of like, I can't like fail because I fail so badly, which makes me stay up at night like crazy, right? And the fact that I have such a great young team and they're all there, plus my uncle, who, you know, I moved out my dad's house and lived with him for a year, and he was the first black partner at Boston Consulting Group and went to Harvard Business School, and he taught me like everything. So even how we promote ourselves is, you know, we're not the cheapest, we're the best. There are little things like, guys, we're a Armani suit, like we charge money, we're expensive. And Lindsay will tell you that that's how we are, and that's protected us.
Me and him had a cuss out.
Yes, exactly.
I was like, you can't charge them so much money.
Well, I'll tell you something. Surprisingly to me, these stories, I didn't really set out to moderate a deeply rooted, influential story. Mm-hmm. But what we have here is literally the guide to good social media marketing.
I had the opposite experience to him, because my parents didn't give me any money. They were like, you want to do this? You want to leave your good job? You're on your own. So I started with zero money. I built the website myself. Everything that I have done is on good grace, basically. I'm a single mother, so you know how that goes.
But you see, what it also does is that it helps to educate people on the fact that somebody like Craig Paul, yes, he started in a good position and went south, dropped out of school. Many people believe that having had that experience, oh, well, that's the end of that. Yeah. So you still had to come from those bootstraps up.
It's not where you're from, it's where you're going.
It's where you're going. All right. Now, let me veer off a little bit to social media responsibility and the things, two things: social media responsibility and how responsible you need to be as a company, and whether or not people should always separate their page from the company page. So let's start with the issue of social responsibility. We have different things in it, so you can encapsulate it really and say what your views are on the need for social media responsibility when you use the space.
No, it's very important. Personal branding, I mean, I've been preaching about personal branding for years and how important it is, because it has also helped me to build my business. I mean, I've been talking, I'll talk about social media on my platforms, stuff like that. So it's definitely very important. In terms of, I think personal brand, and you guys can chime in if you agree or not, I think that it's the same. Like, obviously, the messages that you put on your business page are going to be driven towards your target audience. But you from your put CEO of so-and-so, it's a part of the brand, it's a part of the business. So you have to be very careful about what you share on social media. And I also find it very interesting how a lot of people don't necessarily share what they do on social media. They'll do memes, they'll do twerking videos, they'll do all kind of craziness, but they don't talk about like what they do for a living. And now is the time, if you're in sales, if you have a food business, you need to be talking about what your customers are saying or your interactions, because that's how you're gonna build a community.
Like a resume platform, sort of. You put yourself out there and
just
get the reach.
talk about your life, talk about your day to day. And I mean, you don't have to be personal. You don't have to be like, I just made $1 million. You know what I mean? You can just talk about your life, but in a way that's going to build a community, especially now when that face-to-face is very limited.
Lindsay, social media responsibility. I know. Yeah, I know you walk around with a hammer and a box of nails on this topic. But so you answer that, and I'll leave the
Craig.
separation of pages to Craig.
So, okay. To me, you have to be responsible all the time because, as I said, everybody's a brand and you're a walking brand. And so the difference is that if I'm here and I say something to Kezi, it may not transport everywhere, but the truth is when you put something online, it stays there. And I think that's the biggest difference, is that it stays there. Who you are yesterday is not necessarily who you are today, so it's just good to be cognizant of what you put out there because it projects who you are inside.
Yep.
And so that's my thing about being responsible. I mean, listen, we all have to be responsible for our actions. We all have to be responsible for what we say to people. We all need to walk around with that hat on our head because you never know what somebody is going through. So when you project something online to somebody, I mean, sometimes I see people, I've been a recipient of bad comments, for example. And at first you make them get to you, but then you stop and you're just like, I don't even know this person, you know?
And you must be really upset, sad and depressed.
But sometimes I just wonder the energy that you project online while you do it. Having two separate pages, listen, I believe in having a business page. I believe having a personal page, but I do think they intertwine because to me, when somebody sees me, they already know that I'm with Market Me. And even with somebody who works with me, my co-workers, they see them, they know they work with Market Me. So you're always representing who you are as a whole, no matter if you try to segment it, you know?
Yeah,
you say one person.
true.
And then also, going to Kezi, I could disagree with you just a little because I'm not one, I rarely talk about work on my social media pages. If you look at my social media pages, you think that I drink wine all the time, I exercise. But what I do talk about a lot of time are my passion projects.
Yes, and
I talk about
positive
helping other people.
messages.
I rarely talk about work, but when I always tell somebody, if you want to know somebody, go on their social media pages because what they put out there is what they're trying to project to the world of who they are. So it may not necessarily be who they are because sometimes you may see people who, they may have like females who have the sexiest bikini pictures and you may think, oh my God, they're so confident. But truthfully, they're shy.
And they want the attention.
So my thing, I wouldn't really say that people like the attention. I don't like to go there because that's going negative and I allow people, if you want to do that, you do that. But I think people put online what they want to project to people. And so do you. I mean, that's what I think. Just do you, but do it in a kind way, do it in a respectful way.
So I'll ask you.
Separation of pages?
Yeah, you agree with the need for separation?
Yeah, you have to separate it. But at the same time, you have to...
So Craig Powell, the party promoter in college, could not then be also intelligent over here that's doing a professional thing.
You intersect.
Well, no, the good thing about being a party promoter is that it lines up with the story of the business. And because I was doing it when I'm younger, people say, oh, that's cool. I like that. So if I was doing it at the same time and I was taking large amounts of money from corporate people and governments, and then you see me at the next time with like Young Thug and me, and I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna work. But I think if you go back in the past and say, oh, this is what he was like, and even my friends today will say, Craig, 4 years ago when I used to talk to you, you're like so different now. I say, yeah, that's true. Okay, but on the separation of pages, so the CEO, the founders are usually the brand themselves in a sense, where like Lindsay, as she said, if I go out and see her, that's Market Me. If you go out and see me, that's Intelligent. I see her, that's Storyteller. And that makes sense. Steve Jobs is Apple, Bill Gates is Microsoft. So those guys have to be very careful. They can't just walk around and do anything because that can affect their brand. But now for the other level of people, as the organization gets bigger, for small businesses, you are literally probably the one-man shop. So if you start doing stupidness on social media, you will feel it. But for the other ones, the medium and bigger, that's where the problems happen because you have to deal with maturity. And people who are working in organizations now, if they're coming in from school or even as they start to turn on, they're not used to thinking of their social media profile as a part of a company's brand. And there's even an argument, who the hell are you to tell me what to post on my media? And that's not, I think, what companies are trying to do. But the truth is, if you see it in Jamaica, some people post some things and then Twitter will come down on them and then that's the end of their job, that's the end of this. So there is a reality that what you do affects these companies. Now in my place, at Telgen, I've had to do a lot of talking in the beginning to people. I say, boy, you know, if you're going to be in this position, you can't post that. And you see the anger in the faces, how dare I try to control them. Until afterwards they say, wow, they start to see the reality of life and say, hey, that makes sense. I have some people at my company who, like, they've just blocked me on social media, disappear. So I'm like, I know that they have social media because I have what, like 50 social media accounts that I can look at and
everyone,
see. And
yeah,
so I mean, I know everyone who has social media. And I realize why they block me, because they have things on it that aren't necessarily appropriate for the job title if people were to look at it. But, you know, we can't necessarily tell them to take it down, but at the same time, if someone ever saw it, a client or someone, they were upset, what position would that put us in? The next thing I want to talk about responsibility is that as marketers, we have responsibility towards the content we put out. So social media is a proven thing, can change people's minds, can change elections, it can change results in the real world. Because you can actually, you know, create those communities and change perceptions. So you can spread fake news. So all the companies that we work with, we have to make sure that we're taking a responsible way in terms of the content and the messaging we're giving. Because, like, you know, Lindsay, with the Ministry of Health, if she was to say, like, guys, no more masks, everybody wouldn't wear masks. And that's not something that is responsible for her to put out. So she has to think of that. And for Intelligent, there are certain things that we have been approached by. We once were approached by a brothel in Europe for a lot of money to do private police services online. And it was the reason why we got the opportunity was because in Jamaica, the laws of doing the ads here and how they could pay us money and it wouldn't create no issues. I was like, wow, look at that. But at the same time, should we be doing a 76-room brothel in Netherlands from the middle of Jamaica and like taking money from that? That doesn't really make sense. So we have to be responsible to turn away that business.
I think what it really boils down to at the end of the day is starting back on the note that to start on. No, well, everybody can do what they want.
I mean, even OnlyFans is huge for influencers right now, but I'm not touching it.
But my thing is that everybody needs to look at themselves as an influencer. You are influencing one person. And what's that quote? That with great influence comes great responsibility. So it's just really being cognizant of that.
All right. The question that I'll end with, and you can add your final comments, so you have a little moment there to also, having answered this question, have a final comment. How do I choose the right media strategy for me? I think a lot of people are out there with businesses and they have issues with identity, with markets, with an understanding of they know who they want to reach, but they're trying to reach them in ways that don't necessarily fit and so on. So as we go down the line, tell us, how do small businesses and individuals as well who have a plan to get into entrepreneurship, how do they make the right choice?
You start with the data.
Also, maybe we should go at the analytical end. Analytical end.
Okay.
Just ask two questions in one way, you know.
Yeah, he did ask two questions in one.
Yeah.
So I think you first have to think about what type of business you are. So we actually wrote a guide once, and I did it for, I think, a virtual stream for the PSOJ. If you're a professional or a consultant, a lawyer, a doctor, anyone like that, you know, we say Instagram and Twitter are good for you because at least that way you can talk about your job and people can, you know, that's, you are your job in a sense, so managing that profile isn't very hard for you. As if you're a visual business, like you're selling food or you're selling visual goods, Instagram and Facebook are going to work out much better for you. You know, if you're, that doesn't necessarily translate on Twitter. I say everybody should be on Google Business, that's the basic.
Definitely.
If you have a low physical location, you're not on Google Business, you're losing clients, right? So that's the first thing, just register on Google My Business. It's very easy. They'll send you a postal thing in the mail, you just scan it on your phone, it confirms where you are, and then all of a sudden you pop up on the map with your store location. The second thing now is, do you have someone that can be dedicated to working on those pages if you are not that professional business? Like if you are a shopkeeper or something, you know, running an Instagram account is going to be hard for you unless you can remember every time to take a picture, you know, and put it up and make sure it's interesting. So the type of platforms that you're going to do, someone like Facebook and Google are, set it and drop it. Like you can just set it on a Facebook page and set it on Google.
Too,
you can do that.
now.
Now WhatsApp is also a great thing, because you can be
now.
WhatsApping clients. But if you open up these tools and you don't actually have someone to monitor them and engage with them, it's going to lead to your business like sinking. So if I WhatsApp you and you never answer me for 2 weeks, that's not good. Like some of the client accounts that we get, when we look at their Facebook inboxes and you have seen like 3 months of just no answering.
Nobody answering.
That's not necessarily helping their brand. But now, because they've hired us and they're paying us money a month, there's someone dedicated to doing that. So you have to look at your business and say, do I have the time if it's me going to be doing it personally, or am I going to hire someone, or is there someone there who I can say, hey, do this? Now, when it comes to choosing the strategy, this is the final part. Understand what you're trying to do and trying to sell, right? If you're trying to sell a service and it's complicated, then you have to add value to people that they can enjoy the value even without buying the service. So for example, I'm a dermatologist, I'm selling something that's like some sort of weird facial technique or something that costs 25 grand. Better I go talk about it and tell people the benefits, even if they don't come to me, and I show them how it's done and explain to them, because that way they can make the decision. Similar with mortgages, walk them through the process, because that's a lifelong decision. If I'm just KFC or something that's quick, I don't really need to tell people the benefit of KFC. Just show them a picture and say the chicken is here and tastes good. And that works. So depending on the brand and the level of complexity, that time will determines the content. And then of course, as I said before, the level of professionals or how much money you have determines where you place the thing. And that's my whole thing.
All right, final comments from you very quickly. Wow, I think we've encapsulated a literal all-inclusive, and even outside, the handbook, the guide, the true map, would it be Google Map?
Yes.
For all the persons who desire, and even big business, I'm sure, will still turn around and benefit from this panel.
They could hire us, that's what they need to do.
Yeah. Because definitely what's needed in this COVID time and post-COVID is to make sure that social media marketing is key. So your final comments very quickly as we go down the line.
Well, so for entrepreneurs, people who are just starting out, I would say if you want to start your own business, whether that be e-commerce, doing hair, whatever, invest in a good phone, learn how to take nice pictures, natural light, all that stuff. Integrate the storytelling, integrate the analytics. Bigger brands, obviously, if you have the budget, put some aside for digital marketing, because, like I said, we don't have the face-to-face as much anymore. Like he said, designate somebody to respond. Because even like the other day, I wanted something and I saw it, ad, WhatsApp came up, I asked, and they were like, oh, you need to come. No, integrate some way that people can purchase online so it's convenient, and people are willing to do the wire transfers, people are willing to pay cash on delivery. Just put things in place so that you're not, because of your physical not being able to come in.
So this is from an entrepreneur standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for me, is that if somebody decides that they're going to be an entrepreneur, it means that they're doing something that they're passionate about or something that they have interest in. And for me, that's your starting point, that once you have passion, it's easy for you to put it out there. I do believe that everybody should have a social media page because it's just easy. And that's the thing, it's just easy. So my advice to people is start the page. It doesn't have to be perfect at first. You don't have to go and hire people. I mean, I tell a lot of small businesses come to us and I say, you know what, it's better you do it on your own, because the passion that you're gonna have in there, I can't have that passion for you. There's so many tools online where you can just learn, a lot of free tools. I mean, you YouTube everything, you can learn everything. It's good to invest in proper tools. I do think a proper phone is important because different platforms are based off of different things, whether it's visual, get into your captions. Just as I tell everybody, close your eyes and just let your passion be free, and research the tools, research how to get ahead, and just content. I mean, you can have too much content because sometimes people post a lot. Mm-hmm. And even if we go back to the first conversation we're having about a personal page and a separate page, sometimes you see people post it on their personal page, then it's on their page, and then it becomes a lot. But my thing is just research, let your passion go. And the strategy you have today may not be the strategy tomorrow. I know for me, I get very nervous writing proposals for people because I'm like, I'm more of a let's see what happens as we go along kind of girl. But yeah, just take the time to just do you. If you're passionate about it, invest in it.
Craig, quickly.
Okay, so if you're a small or medium business, I have the perfect solution for you. We have a website called www.smallbusinessportal.com, which actually has every single thing for Jamaican businesses. All the loans are available there. All the grants that the governments are posting are there. All of the equity options, all of the, the vouchers from DBJ. So we've actually put together a big resource tool along with the PSOJ for all businesses to come and see and compare loans. Now, best thing is we've actually written with experts in business over 30 memos about these topics, social media marketing, how to manage cash during COVID, how much cash flow you have, how to take a loan out, how to actually look at your credit score. Every single thing is there. So if you're a small business in Jamaica, just go on that website and that's going to really help you. To wrap up for me, if you're a small business like me now, you're starting, just have a hustle. Please, don't go to bed at night all the time, stay up and do some of the work. You're competing with people, if you're trying to be at the best, who are very, very hungry, and they might be more hungry than you, and that's okay, but once Jamaica starts to be like America, then the whole heap of foolishness won't tolerate it anymore, because the superstars are going to be born, and they will come up and clean up everybody. Look at Phase 3, look how well they're doing. Those guys at Phase 3 are superstars. Regular man not going to survive when Phase 3 reach the level they're supposed to reach. So that's what I'm saying, guys. Just get hungry, get fiery, be like the people in America, and just start, make some money.
All right.
Can I just interject with that? Is that
5 seconds.
You're saying be like the people in America. I think that Jamaicans have such a hustling spirit, and I love it. I saw the craftsman the other day with the straw hats, but he had a straw mask, and I want to be like, brethren, it I got through. But I think that we have this drive and we have this spirit here, and I don't want us to lose it. But just one more point that I wanted to make is that don't be afraid to reach out for help.
Yeah.
And that's my thing. There is nobody who has ever reached out to me that I don't give time for. And in the same respect, I have not found one person I have genuinely reached out to that doesn't give time for me. I mean, sometimes you can see through who is serious and who's not, but reach out to people. Find the people within your field and literally just reach out. Because I think everybody genuinely at people's cores is that people want to help. And if they don't want to help, it says more about them than you. So I just think that reach out.
Well, on that final note, the Jamaican spirit remains alive, viable, and well. Socially directed and properly marketed after COVID, we'll rule the world, as we've always done. Well, thank you very much, my panelists. You've educated and informed everybody who's watched, and I tell you, even big businesses might actually find a lot of this informative. They do have solutions, but trust me, you've solved a lot of problems. You've inspired entrepreneurs who are coming up and small business people. All right, right about now, we're going to a Q&A.
As a small business owner, where is the best place to go to get training in social media marketing?
Well, there are a lot of free resources online. YouTube, I think we had mentioned that before. But if you want hands-on, one-on-one, I also do workshops. I've done workshops in the past. There's iCreate as well. There's Digital Marketing Institute. So there are a few, but you can start, if you want free, start with, Google, YouTube, that kind of thing.
Everything you need is right there.
Mm-hmm.
What's the biggest? Two biggest. One is arrogance. The second is DM for prices. Now to me, it's just another step that I don't need to do. So to me, for small businesses, just understand that you are your brand. So when you're speaking to your customer, just have this level of respect, no arrogance, because people are not going to want to buy something from who they feel like are. And the second thing is, if you are selling something, just put the price out there. It takes added energy for somebody to write to you in your inbox to say, what is the price? Then to wait another 10 minutes for you to respond. It's instant. Just put everything out there. It gives you less hassle, and it gives me as a consumer less hassle. So those would be my two little pet peeves.
Craig Paul.
45-second answer is that you
should have a formal marketing plan?
Yes, you should. depending on your budget, if you're a small business, you shouldn't have like a 2-year plan that makes no sense. You know, write something in the context of how long your business has been around. If you're a big company, write it for a year or 2 years, and then break it down into smaller increments with the ability to change based off the 3-month intervals that you're seeing in the market. So nothing to say every month we're doing X thing, but you can at least have the idea of what you're doing before, and also switch it up based off the product. So each month you're doing maybe a different product, or you're doing something like that, and that's my advice.
All right, thank you very much. Once again, my panel, it's been wonderful, and thank you very much for watching as well. And a special thanks to EU, JSIF, and of course, driven by Flow and the Flow Foundation, the 2021 Entrepreneurship Virtual Expo. Thank you very much for watching, and keep on being media and socially responsible. Welcome to the Entrepreneurship Virtual Expo 2021, brought to you by the EU, JSIF, and with support from the Flow Foundation. Now, today's discussion, we're looking at upskilling in a digital world. What exactly does that mean? We've heard about upgrading and, you know, making sure that you get up to speed, but upskilling in a digital world, well, how will we discover what that's about? My distinguished panel today will give us a lot of insight and information about it. And we have Ricardo Allen, the founder and CEO of One-on-One Educational Services, Trevor Forrest, CEO of 876 Technology, and Leanne McNaughton, the founder of Youth Can Do It. Now, I'll give you all 30 seconds, and if you want to go shorter, fine, to give our audience a little idea of exactly what you do, starting with you, Leanne.
All right, hi, my name is Leanne McNaughton. I'm the founder and managing director of Youth Can Do IT, which is a youth empowerment organization that uses technology and right mindset to upskill and empower the youth.
Very well. Ricardo.
My name is Ricardo Allen. I'm the founder and CEO of One-on-One Educational Services. We're an online company dedicated to creating personalized online learning experiences for students and professionals. You know, since 2013, we've really built out content online to prepare for just today, right? Where we have to upskill an entire region, and we're ready, and we're quite excited to meet the challenge that we're faced with right now.
Trevor Forrest.
Thank you, Rodney. So 876 Solutions, a company that I founded in 2006. It's an entirely virtual company. Which back in 2006 was a novelty at the time. But the services that we provide were based on the fact that we thought that in a developing country like Jamaica, doing things virtually would make us more competitive. And what we do for our clients is we provide them with online services, web services, e-commerce, data analytics, and services of that nature that have come into their own over the past decade. And I think we're very excited about what the COVID pandemic has kind of brought now to the entire landscape that allows us to now help our customers to really digitally transform and move into the 21st century with greater purpose.
All right, well, there you have it. Now what we need to do is get deeply into the meat of this matter. Of course, I'm still contemplating exactly what upskilling is, but clearly it's a good thing as long as there's up somewhere in there. So we know definitely it's similar to an upgrade. So I'd ask you, why is upskilling critical for successful digital transformation? You want to start and go this way?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I kind of wanted to point out, in industry, upskilling and reskilling are two terms that are used interchangeably. Generally, they mean the same thing, except that upskilling really is just enhancing skills that you have to do your current job better, given the realities that exist. Reskilling allows you to retrain yourself to do new jobs. And what we're finding in industry now is because of technology and digital transformation and other such things, a lot of jobs, traditional jobs, are changing. And because of that, businesses, employers, employees are now forced to retrain so that they can still remain relevant in either the jobs that they have or the jobs that they now feel that they want to take on. So if you're somebody who, you know, is comfortably in a job, but you're realizing that you know, the changes that are occurring today require that you change fundamentally the way you work, upskilling is something that is very important for you to do, and for your employers to recognize that they may need to do with you in order to help you to grow.
All right. Leon, on the basis that you have a youth-based kind of drive, I suspect maybe your analysis of this, an idea about how critical it is, might be a little bit different from both Ricardo and Trevor. Tell me, how important is it?
Upskilling, it's extremely important, and I just want to add to what Trevor said about upskilling versus reskilling, because right now in this age, a lot of the jobs that we used to do is being replaced by technology, right? And so we need to upskill or reskill ourselves to have different types of jobs or to get different types of jobs, because the jobs that we once thought that we could qualify for has been replaced with technology, replaced with automation, replaced with different, you know, types of technology where you're no longer needed in that space. And so I focus on the youth because I grew up only knowing technology, right? I knew what it was like to have technology and be exposed to technology. But people think technology is only for smart people, or it's only for a certain type of people that they are far removed from, right? And it's only for a set of jobs, not understanding that technology is in everything we do and a part of everything we do. So how can you use the technology? How can you be comfortable with the technology? How can you embrace the technology to be a part of the digital age, which is what we are in right now?
All right. Ricardo, your perspective.
No, you know, it's interesting, and thanks, Trevor, for just giving an introduction as to what reskilling versus upskilling is. But I want to take it from a slightly different approach. You know, one-on-one, you know, we've focused a lot on you know, taking kids from K all the way up to 12. But what we've seen is that 20% of those persons at the end of high school actually matriculate into higher levels of studies. If we look broad at the workforce, we're talking about 1.5 million people for Jamaica, of which only about 15% are actually trained beyond a secondary school level. So we do have a massive problem as it relates to training our professionals. And so, you know, for us, there needs to be, forget about upskilling, right? They need to be skilled, right? So let's start there, right? And better skilled workers leads to more productivity, enhances our GDP, and then, you know, the country gets better, right? Everybody can get paid more. So how do we get to that place, right? So we have several solutions. We could actually create schools and, you know, pack them into classes and then teach 1.2 million people to make up the workforce. But that simply is just not the solution, right? That won't work. One, we have capacity issues with universities and colleges. And then two, people have to leave from work and then fight the traffic and then get to school, that sort of thing. Plus it costs money, right? And so we have to find a solution that is online, that is sufficiently digital, convenient, easy, and it's in bite size, right? And why bite size is so important? Because the research tells us that, you know, videos has to be less than 5 minutes. People, you know, they're literally skipping content beyond that. And so in a workforce where you have millennials, you have older folks, and then you have the boomers who are leaving into retirement, you need training that is sufficiently engaging for the broad spectrum, right? And so upskilling in the digital age has to take into account all of those factors, and it's really a lot of problem to solve. And I think the best way to sort of solve it is zoning in on each of the problems at a small level. And if we can solve those individual problems, then combining them, then we would have solved the bigger problem in upskilling our people, obviously leading to better economic output.
All right. See, we're going on. I now think I have a greater appreciation for upskilling.
Right.
So now I need to upskill and ask this question. What are the skill gaps that you found with your experience collectively in this digital world? Because I believe a lot of people have ended up in the digital world and believe the mere fact that they are engaging means that they have the skills. But the more people engage seems to be the more we discover that skills are missing in that digital age. Leon, what's the thing that jumps out at you as the most missing?
I'm taking it from a different vantage point because I'm at the introductory level, right? So the biggest gap that I've been exposed to is just basic digital literacy and competency of using the technology, right? So although the biggest surprise to me is just everyone has a smartphone and everyone can scroll through the smartphone, but ask them to send an email. Ask them to, start writing a document, right? So even though they have access to the technology, they don't know how to leverage and use the technology, right? And so we're at this age where even though you're exposed to it and you have access to it, you don't know how to utilize it and harness it to be like a creator instead of just consuming it, right? So that's at the first level. Although we have access, they're not quite utilizing it properly. And then at the next level is how do I use the technology for my advantage? We're still at the consumption level where we're just receiving. We are not competent or skilled enough to create the technology, to use the technology for advantage. So those are the two biggest gaps that I've seen and witnessed.
So 876 technology solutions, having heard this, what have you found are the most missing things?
So I'm going to piggyback on something that Leanne mentioned. It's a lot of people have technology, but leveraging it to its maximum, we're not quite there yet. I'll tell you a story about something we experienced when I first started the business. I mentioned before, it's a virtual company. In my first 5 to 10 years, I couldn't hire anybody in Jamaica. Right? Now that's sad because I kind of wanted to keep the money here. The challenge we had was, because it's a virtual company, in 2006, telling someone that you don't come to an office to do work, you work from wherever you want to, as long as you deliver on time, was a confusing concept. So, work being something you do and not somewhere you go, foreign. We didn't quite get that, and over 10 years, it was a challenge for us. So, understanding that concept, work is something you do, not somewhere you go, major gap. The other thing that we also found was a lot of the graduates from say university that we would perhaps engage, they weren't sufficiently taught about how to the business of working in a business. Okay, they don't teach them to be entrepreneurs, and sometimes you have businesses that are looking for people with business sense, because those are the kinds of people that will be contributing a lot to the growth of your business.
You think this has been a problem generally, or it ended up being a problem in the digital age?
It has been a problem, and it is now being, some people say it's being unearthed now. It was always there. But now, because of the digital age and the fact that we're now being forced to recognize that reality, that problem is being blown up even more now. Yeah. Right? So things like, people talk about this digital divide. The digital divide has been there for a while, but it's because that we're in a situation now where we need to function a particular way. The the gaps and the deficiencies are now being shown more. And I think, you know, and this is where, you know, it is like one-on-one can really help, because we're finding that our educational norms are not responding fast enough to the kinds of changes that we're seeing. And that has an effect on business, because what we're finding is that we can't find the kind of resource easily. And again, it ties back to upskilling and reskilling. Because yes, you go to school, you get a degree, great. A degree demonstrates that you have the aptitude, the willingness to learn. To learn, yeah? Well, now you gotta learn. Demonstrate that aptitude. And that's kind of where, you know, the real upskilling in this digital age is becoming very important, because now you have to go beyond that degree on paper.
I'm seeing Ricardo looking with a curious look on his face, and I believe that since you put it in the context of the lack of that educational springboard, something tells me that there's where you want to start about what's missing in the digital space.
No, absolutely. And you know, to really kind of understand what's happening, right? You know, I'd like to give my personal kind of story, right? My background is in actuarial science. I'm an actuary by profession. And I had to study for the actuarial exams using a book, right? And the information would be in the book, right? And it would take you months to study for that exam. And, you know, I took a chance, and then I started looking at videos to study for that exam, and I was able to complete the entire course in about 45 hours worth of studying, right? So here we've kind of, you know, taken months of work into hours of work, and then, you know, I can do it whenever, wherever. That's one of the biggest gaps, I think, right? The content is simply not available online in a way that is sufficiently condensed for people to access it quickly and easily, right? And this is a major issue, because there are three things to upskill in a digital world. You need the device, you need connectivity, and you need the content, right? And we're not trying to solve the device or the accessibility issue, right? We allow guys like 876 and the flows of the world and so on to solve that. But from a content perspective, certainly, we're not short on content, you know. That's not where our issue is. The content is just not digital. So you have all this content lying around. Real estate board, they have the content on how to be a realtor. You know, all of those people have the content, but it's not online in a format that is sufficient. And so we think that that's a major gap, and we have to solve that gap. And many people and many universities are simply not investing, or were not investing in that area, simply because they could not justify it, right? It would cannibalize their main source of income. But that sort of protectionist behavior, right, causes problems in the future, because if you think about it, One-on-One would have invested in content for the past 7 years. When COVID happened in March, the ministry came to us and said, One-on-One, all the content that you've created for the entire high school curriculum, we want every single child to have access to it. If we as a country were to take that similar approach to place our content online, then we won't be reactive, we will be proactive, because that's the future of learning. There's no other way.
Wow, I did say he was going to
He's a smart person. He's an actuary.
No, the man is an actuarial scientist. Have a look at it differently. And it's funny that you have created the perfect segue, because here lies a question for all of you. How did you start? Because I found that most people who I speak to who are now fully into the digital age never started being the techies and all of that. Actuarial scientists, really. So you can just tag that on right now and tell me how you started, Leon, after and
You know, it's interesting, right? I've always been excited about solving problems, right, using math, right? So I used to tutor math around Kingston, just going to people's homes on a weekend and tutor maths while going to university.
Where were you when I needed a math tutor?
You know, the business started with 2 people under a tree, then it went to 4, and then it went to 10, and then we were at 1,000 in 2 years. And then the question was, how do we scale? How do we continue to grow, but keep our classes personal, right? And to solve that problem, the only way was digital. And so we started creating videos, because then I can just record myself once, and then I can reach up to 1 million people at the same time, right? So it's almost like an efficient way or a robotic way of doing it. One of the things I must say is that one of the challenges we've had is, how do you maintain a personal atmosphere online, right? And these are problems that we've been trying to solve for the past 7 years, and we continue to solve. And one of the ways we do it is just, as you mentioned, right, gap testing, right? What are your gaps? Here's a learning path that sufficiently meets that gap that you're having, right? And we select our content from our library that sufficiently solves your problem. So it's almost like automating a teacher, giving you an aptitude test, and then working it through with you, and then giving you a final exam and say, yeah, you have done well, right? And so that's how it started. It was really starting to tutoring. I really love tutoring. I really love empowering people, and I've been doing it for 7 years, and I want to go on for a very long time.
Well, it tells you, no matter the choice you've made in your studies, you can move from actuarial science and become a digital genius.
Right.
What can I tell you, Leanne?
I have a different story because I only ever knew technology. I grew up in an extremely techie family, and this is weird probably hearing this from people that just born now that only know technology. But I had access to a computer. I was a part of the family that brought the first ISP to Jamaica, so I was a part of the dial-up era and then the internet and all of that. So I only ever knew technology. I couldn't do anything else. I couldn't pursue anything else because that was just what I was exposed to. All right, and then I went and did a degree in technology, management information systems. So it's only been my life, tech. And then, but I quickly realized that I was very privileged in that sense because that's the only thing I knew. That's the only thing that I was exposed to. And not many people understood technology the way that I innately understood it and appreciated it. And that's what birthed Youth Can Do IT, to like demystify the fear or bridge that gap between I can't do technology, and hence the name Youth Can Do IT, or You Can Do IT, or You Can Do It, right? To empower them and to make them believe that they can pursue technology or use technology or utilize technology for whatever they want.
All right, I'm going to come back to you with an age issue with technology for all of you, because upskilling in a digital world, yes, we need to look at youth, but we have a much bigger picture because the workforce is not as young.
Right.
But Trevor, tell me how you started in this.
Yeah, so when I left Jamaica to study abroad, and let me age myself now in 91, my area of study was aerospace engineering. Yeah.
Say it slowly.
Aerospace
engineering.
Yeah. Rocket scientist, right? So I think about halfway through my studies, I was drawn to tech. So I used to be a lab tech at the university. Ended up being one of the guys who built out the university's network, which was 2 campuses in 2 different states and 120 teaching sites globally. And you know, after spending a lot of time in the US, about 15 years, seeing, you know, both in educational and corporate, I came back to Jamaica. I mean, I had enough. Mm-hmm. And, you know, home call you. But when I came back here, honestly, I had no clue what I was doing when I started the business, because I didn't fancy myself as a business person. But what I did know was, based on all of my experiences before, I had to be able to make this work. So
you're concerned about the difference in culture and space and economies and
so I think my experience and my experiences in the United States helped me tremendously when I came back home, because, you know, we tend to fashion ourselves a lot, you know, from our neighbors in the north.
Yeah.
So when I came back, I started to see that, you know, we're the trend was going, I said, okay, I'm probably a little ahead of the game here, so I should be able to function. What I'm building here, I've seen it work already, and I'm sure we'll catch up. So based on that, you know, I saw some real opportunities being able to provide some services that were, at the time, very expensive. They were not commodity services, and the goal was to commoditize certain types of services in Jamaica so that from a developing country standpoint, we could move things along a lot quicker. I had that experience before, so I had a whole lot of experience coming back home, and I really just put all of that to use so that, you know, in providing solutions to our customers, we would kind of move them along that curve a little faster. So that's kind of where, you know, where I got my start, you know, from about probably 1993, started the internet bubble and been in it since.
All right. Ricardo mentioned earlier the need for us to be able to break down the whole transmission of messaging and how things work. I'm concerned a lot that over the years, the digital age, I think, has been more targeted towards younger people because they're coming up in it. But yet the workforce pretty much here is still an older workforce. How easy is it, or how easy has it been for you to be able to compartmentalize, if you need to, how you sell the digital age to older persons versus younger persons? Or have we found a middle ground? I know the two way you can take it. Yeah.
Go ahead.
You know, so millennials, right? They now account for the largest segment of our population. Roughly about 3.5 million people are in that kind of group. And I consider a millennial as someone between the age of about 20 to about 35, 38, thereabout, right?
Millennial.
Right. So they have surpassed boomers, right? And so when developing a training strategy, you really want to focus on that as a core element of your training, right? So the modern day learner is what we call them, right? The modern day learner, they're very hungry for information, but they don't want it too long, as we mentioned. They want it sticky and engaging, and they want it in bite sizes. And they also want to do it whenever, wherever, right? They want to do it at their own time, kind of like watching a movie series when I feel like doing it kind of thing, right? And then you have the boomers who are a little different. They're not so much into text messaging, WhatsApp, that sort of thing. And even if they're just sharing perhaps conspiracy theories and so on, those are the aunties and the grandmas, right? But they have an interest in it. And we have seen where they have moved to their consumers now in terms of they have their iPods, some of them do, and they still are around their computers. Some of them still enjoy just going to a training session in a blended fashion based on the interaction that's happening physically, right? Mm-hmm. So I get to see my friend that I have not seen in a very long time, right? So you really have to design training that sufficiently meets the needs of both boomers, you know, your Gen Z, the millennials, everyone kind of thing. And this is where you plan the training in such a way to, you know, I may work with this group or that group next, or I work with one group and just design the training accordingly. And that's where instructional design comes in, right? Every company, HR managers who are tuning in right now, you have a company, you need to train someone internally in what we call instructional design, right? Taking the learner and your audience into consideration, designing training in a way that meets their need. You're not going to bore the millennial, but you're also going to engage with the boomers as well, right? And so that's how we see training. It has to be blended. It has to be some element of digital. It has to be some element of offline. Obviously, COVID has caused everything to really be online, and so that's where we are. But as things normalizes and so on, you will see a more blended form of learning, because online is not going away, not very soon.
Well, and COVID has shown that for those who didn't value it, it's here with value.
Absolutely.
Leon, I'll start with you for this. Those who are digital entrepreneurs, and it is fair to say you are the embodiment of that digital entrepreneur. How will this group help to shape the world and its economy and Jamaica post the COVID-19 pandemic?
I think this group being like who were our target audience, or this group meaning us?
You take
both?
Both.
Okay. For us, you know, Ricardo, myself, it is Trevor. Sorry. I was getting to Trevor separately. Each of us focus.
She was talking about millennials. Don't worry about it, Trevor. 15.
I think it's really nice, this group that we have here, because we're hyper-focused on a different target audience, right? So for me, I'm hyper-focused on the youth, on being creators, not just consumers, right? So I teach you how to create your own game. I teach you how to build your own website. I teach you how to leverage video conferencing tools for social media presence and digital marketing, all of those things, for you to be creators, not just consume, right? And then that shift, because as a result of what we've done over the years, people have gotten jobs, people have started their own businesses, people have gone over to Geneva, Switzerland and won international hackathons against like a global competition, right? Because we were hyper-focused on upskilling you, not just with the technology, but with the mindset believing that you could. Right? You know, in Trevor, one of Trevor's early answers where he said, the workforce, they need to understand that work is not something where you go, but something that you do, right? We have this mentality of one just waiting to receive something to get it done, right? We're like, just tell me what to do, right? They're not empowered to be innovators. They're not empowered to take initiative. They're not empowered to be innovative, right? And so YCDI focuses all of that in helping you not just with the technology and utilizing the technology, but also the mindset for you to be the creators and the innovators and the change makers in your own society, in your own environment.
All right.
I just want to add something to that.
Yes, you can.
Just, again, I think it's very important, especially now, that if it is within our educational system or to perhaps, you know, engender some culture change of some sort, that we really start to impress upon our citizenry that, look, we're in a new age, and the mindset needs to be adjusted, because if you intend to succeed and compete in a global space now, we're not talking about the, you know, just under 3 million people in Jamaica. We're talking about close to 7 billion globally. You have to now look at ways in which you can compete. Right. And our systems need to help and provide the environment for people to grow in that way. Because if it's not there, then the innovative capacity that we all know Jamaican people have, not going to get realized. Because you know we're innovative, you know.
We are.
But we just, somehow we don't have the environment and the challenge, the channels to focus that and galvanize the kind of innovation that we know our people have.
Right. And just one more thing to add, the common thread amongst all this group right here is that we are focused on the mindset or the culture change, right? So me with the youth, Trevor with the businesses, right? Having them understand how to leverage technology differently, and Ricardo with the individual learners understanding how to consume the technology differently from a textbook to a digital space. So that is what is the underlying tone for each of our successes, is that we don't just focus on, here's a piece of technology, go figure out how to use it. Or here's a piece of technology, you know, you're good, right? It's about how do you change your way of working, your way of being, your way of thinking to leverage, you know, to take advantage of this digital age and digital space.
All right. So now we understand very clearly, and yes, upskilling it is, digital world it is, get with it and get it done. At this point, we will now throw and get our question.
what do you say are the top 5 skills to have in a digital world?
And we'll start, of course, and leave the beauty for last and start with you, Ricardo.
Absolutely. So, you know, I strongly believe that there are some core skills that every child should have coming out of university, every professional should have. I think, believe it or not, project management is a big one, right? Just time management, holding people accountable. I think creative skills are very important, just understanding how to think creatively and to create, essentially using various authoring tools. So, you know, whether it is creating a simple post, and these are just some low-hanging fruits, I think, that someone who is just watching this and wants to start, right? What do they need to focus on? I think digital marketing is important. So I'm thinking about your business now. So you have a business, what I think you should be able to do, you know, you talk about digital market, selling, that sort of thing, selling digitally. How do you generate leads, convert those leads into deals, convert that deal into a sale, right? And that involves social media and everything, right? So, you know, obviously I think those are 3 big ones: project management, digital marketing. I also believe that while not everybody will be able to code, understanding, you know, how a computer works, that sort of thing, I think is a very important one. And last but not least is financial literacy, right? Because a business is nothing if you don't know about revenue and expenses, right? And I do believe that not many business owners spend enough time understanding the finances of their businesses. They can't get a loan when they're ready because they weren't tracking their information properly. Digitally doing that allows you to simply do it, present that to the bank, access a loan, grow your business. So I think those are 5 important skills that we need to focus on.
Trevor Forrest, 5 short and good answers.
Well, some of them are overlaps, but I think marketing and content, that area, that skill set is going to be very important. And again, that lends itself to, you know, being able to create, you know, information in the various ways that people consume it and then sell it to them. Another area I think is very important is data and artificial intelligence. So that space is rapidly growing. I think though, you know, that space right now, when you talk about upskilling for the future, very important space. I think another area, 2 areas which we don't speak a lot about, but there are some advantages there, is what is termed in the industry as the care economy.
Care economy.
Yeah, where we're talking about how technology plays a role in providing not only healthcare real time, but healthcare for you know, the elderly. And there is a role for technology in that as well. So I think that space is also pretty important. Another space is, an environmentalist will love this, the green economy.
The green economy.
Yeah. Where again, technology plays an important role. And the skill sets to play in that space, it's a very important role. So when you talk about, you know, being greener, using solar, using wind, and the energy space. And when we talk about the green economy, technology plays a huge role there. And because we're looking now at how to you know, pay more attention to the environment, there's a lot of opportunity in that space. I think those are some
your choices.
Yeah.
Well, as I've said, I left you definitely not only for last, but I get a feeling now that we've heard this that you have another set of 5, Leanne.
Well, I mean, they overlap, right? Because I have to echo with project management as a project manager myself. It is so key to, you know, to be able to organize things, organize yourself, organize people, right? So I'm going to echo with project management. I'm going to echo with Trevor in terms of data analytics, right? We have all of this data, we're collecting all of this data, being able to understand it evaluate, and then be able to make decisions based off of the data, right? So I'm going to echo project management, data analytics skills, and I'm going to take a different spin. You have to have an entrepreneurial mindset. And what that means is, how can I see a problem and see how I can solve the problem, right? And not just contribute to the problem, right? So how can I take initiative and how can I solve this problem? Have that type of mindset, to be that change agent. And then also to be curious, right? To learn different things, to don't be pigeonholed in, like, I learned actuarial science, so I'm going to stay in that profession. I learned aerospace. I was on the path to be an aerospace engineer.
So that's an astronaut.
Exactly. So those are the only possible careers that I have. So be curious about things outside of your space that you're pursuing, because you don't know where it will land you and you don't know what you may stumble upon. Right? So those are my skills that I think are important.
If you take 10 seconds, I'll take it.
Just a quick one, right? With people putting all of their information online in a digital world, I think we need to focus on data protection online as well, using public key infrastructure, encryption technology, and so on.
Security.
So I think that's a big one, and that's going to be monetized strongly in a couple of years, right now, actually.
Yeah.
Great point to end on. I want to thank this great and illustrious panel who have upskilled the conversation in a digital age and time and going forward. And more importantly now, COVID. Now is the time for you to use all you can and upskill. You have the digital world sitting right in front of you, easy like Sunday morning. Thanks to EU and JSIF and support from the Flow Foundation. This, of course, was your Entrepreneurship Virtual Expo 2021. Make sure you use the information, choose the information, and don't lose the information. All right? Stay tuned. Good.